book notes for a 2006 biography of J. Robert Oppenheimer. And it is before 5 a.m. on Thanksgiving in the United States of America on Thursday, 28 November 2024. So for those of you who didn't predict the 2023 film Oppenheimer being made, it's a giving thanks to the world for we saw it coming, you know, kind of. I saw it coming. He only had himself to blame. So it's not the right movie. Okay, Cillian Murphy sings Self-Block Tango. Okay, that one came from the musical Chicago. Okay, so this is it was on the shelf, so I decided to grab it. This is one. Was it on the shelf back when it came out? So the copyright is 2005, and then the book is the book is 2006. So I previously said it took them 18 years to make it into a movie, and they made it because it was the only book on the shelves. I don't know if I said it on this channel or not. It was the only book on the shelves for a scientist other than Albert Einstein. Okay. So they're like, you know what? It's been there long enough. We passed over it the first time. We passed over it the next decade, and you know what? Let's make it a movie. You know, that kind of decision-making process. So I guess that would mean, if that's true, the next one up is Stephen Hawking. And let me guess, they're going to make it about back or a feature when he could walk for shock value. Ooh. Okay. But if I did see this on the shelves growing up, then it's one that's been brought back, and the only reason I remember it is because they took up so much space. It's a space-filling biography. Okay. Right, because this copy entered the library system in 2023. That's what the stamp is. So it was not this copy if I did see it back then. There's some background there with me in the book of the... Can I predict Hollywood from one book on the shelves at the public library? I mean, this is not a very big public library, and yeah, sure enough, Hollywood was predictable. And so I've done movie notes for that movie on this channel before. The 2023 film Oppenheimer, which featured Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. Okay, and so this is the introduction. Oh yeah, so it's a 2003 biography on physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin, 2005, and this is 2006 Vintage Books First Edition paperback, ISBN in the video description. I am Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and I have used the Born-Oppenheimer approximation in my own research in condensed matter physics. And the Born-Oppenheimer approximation is named after Max Born, the advisor, and the student, J. Robert Oppenheimer. So, that's a way of saying I am at least semi-familiar with the guy's research. And then he was... maybe I'll do it as part of the introduction. So he was somebody who worked on the underlying science in developing the atomic bomb during atomic bomb weaponry that was used during World War II. Yes, so science progressed so rapidly they could design new weapons and stuff. So his story is science, but it's science and military, but military more on the like war and weapons development side rather than the combat side, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's go into book notes, including construction and design. So it's a large book. It's something I should think about for, I've said my Death by Nag book would be what, 1,200 pages or something. I'm like, something like this is worth thinking. Like if I remember it, because it took up so much space compared to everybody else, well, maybe I should be thinking about that if it's a 1,200 page book. Right, so it's a good one for me to grab. It is tiny font and tiny spacing. walls of text. We got American Prometheus, the title without the subtitle on the top of the even numbered pages and page numbers at the top, and then the chapter name, I think it is, with the odd number pages. I will say what I am finding with this super tiny font. Look at these notes. This is like, there's tiny font and there's super tiny font. So the notes are in super tiny font. What I'll say about it in terms of speed of reading for the small font is it is entirely dependent on the content. So I'm finding that, you know, it can be like, if it's tiny font and it's like it's a bit choppy or very technical, or I'm not familiar with it, it can be like 5 minutes a page. But if it's like smooth writing and it flows, then it's like, it can actually be faster than 2 minutes a page for me currently. So it is like, unlike like the bigger font size, the smaller font I am finding can have huge variability depending on what is the actual content of the writing, which is actually like in reading I'm going, yeah, that is worth noting if I'm thinking about writing something. And okay, so there's a note on the font size. The chapters are chapter and then the number spelled out, the quote and kind of a quote by, and then the author of the quote. So, but like there's the chapter name quote, and then there's the like quote of that. There's pictures at the different parts. There's different parts of the book, like, you know, a part 1, a part 2. Like, I think there's pictures there. There are pictures on normal type pages, so there's like sections of pictures, but they're not like the glossy pages and stuff like that. The pages themselves are quite thin, but it's so jam-packed with text that the text from the previous page doesn't quite show through. So it's like the stuff that shouldn't work does. Okay, and then let's see. It's a medium size, small. It's like it's like a medium, but it's like, for this book size, like, this is my kind of like go-to for like if you want a really a heavy book that's small. This one's over 900 pages and this one's over 800 pages. So like this book is much heavier than this book, even though it's smaller this way. So it's a fluffy book in terms of formatting. This one's about the environmental writings, right? And the natural environment. Okay, it's a different book. So this book is 721 pages long. Okay. So there we go. It's not my 900 and some environmental writing this book. That was a textbook for a class I took back when I was 17 years old in college. First college degree, associate degree. Yeah, so I don't really know. In flipping through it, they've got a lot of the like flashy terminology to try and keep people engaged, but I have a bit different taste than flashy terminology, so I don't know if I would read it. Okay, for that reason, it's, yeah, which is a way of saying it's commitment to a book like this, or small font in general. It's kind of topic and tone specific. There's a little bit of, maybe if I were doing research in science and I'm already encountering stuff like this, but I like, and it might be, depending on who I'm interacting with, it might be better than, like, we as scientists can be this could be a nice balance if I were in science, and depending on who I'm interacting with, I'm gonna leave it at that. As for how do I feel about the guys and like developing weapons, I was just like, I think he's a good or I should make that the conclusion. Okay, that's part of the introduction of the conclusion. The building of bombs, I think, so some people are like, that's so bad and stuff, and I'm like, to be fair, a person who releases a song about heartbreak and has an audience of billions does more damage to the human species than somebody who jumps a bomb that kills a few million people, in my perspective. So I mean, that's a bit of, when the musicians and musical artists walk free and terrorize us all with their heartbreak music on the billions scale, and maybe the best way of then addressing someone like Oppenheimer is, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Okay, everybody has a different light. Don't muzzle somebody else because you can't quite grasp what they did.